Welcome to the stream,
Hey, what's up?
Anarcho-Capitalism.
What's up, bro?
Good. Do you have
Can
any
you hear me
idea how
well?
much I was gritting my teeth to your guys' reaction video?
I have an idea. That's actually why I wanted to join the stream because I wanted to get your thoughts about that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I saw a lot of the comments you left on the
That
video,
was
and
on the
I
part
appreciate
one.
that.
I wanted to do it on part two, but I'll be honest, I was driving and I was just like I couldn't, comment. Like I wanted to comment like long paragraphs, and by the time that I was done driving, I finished the video. So
Damn.
that's why no
Okay.
comments on the second video, but I did
That's a
watch
long
the second
drive.
video as well. Um, I got I was a little annoyed at the part where I had to explain a particular situation regarding MVPF. And rather than sitting down and listening to it, right, you guys got stuck on like an anarcho-capitalist perspective and didn't really consider how MVPF is even calculated. And you guys just operated on some sort of an assumption. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Of course, we do lots of measurements in economics, and it can lead us to ought systems. That's literally what the MVPF is for. But I mean, I guess if you're just an anarchist, then you may not want to agree with that. I get it, right? Mises to say no, therefore no.
Well, the reason for that is probably because, well, I think Austrians have a problem with mathematical modeling because of it's hard to track all the variables that go into an equation like that, and that might be why they might be more skeptical with mathematical modeling, and that's why they use praxeology instead to describe human behavior. So, I
You
mean,
don't
there's
find
a
a problem in
discussion to
the
be
fact
had
that they
there.
don't use any mathematical modeling whatsoever? There's no problem in that
What?
in your mind?
There's no problem that they don't use mathematical modeling.
Yes.
No, they can use it on lower levels, but it's hard when you bring it up to like a macroeconomy level because it's hard to control for all the variables.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can still measure it. Is kind of the
Like
problem.
I'm not saying it's not impossible to measure. You can measure it, but I don't think we have the technology capable of
We do.
measuring that amount of
We measure
things.
MVPF. It's possible to do so.
Okay, so walk me through this. What is MVPF?
It's the marginal value of public funds.
Okay, and how do they calculate it?
I have to pull up the exact way that it is done. We can go over it though. Give me a
Sure,
s-
but like I guess on a general scale, what kind of things do they measure for? I'm assuming they measure for like
This
preferences.
is why, like when I was sitting there explaining it, what it is, and then they skipped forward. By the way, let me just first start off by saying, you're a much better arguer than King Sithis. It's not even close. Do you understand that?
Okay, hold on. I'm a passive arguer, so I'm not very aggressive.
That's fine.
I
There's
just like
nothing
to
wrong
listen
with
to people.
passive and or aggressive. The point is
Yeah.
that your arguments are more convincing than what King Sithis says. Because, like, I gotta tell you, man, his sexual assault argument is not a good argument. And not only that, it's super gross. Like no one from not only from like a pragmatic lens, but just from like just a strict rhetoric lens, it's a terrible idea. It's like no one's
but you know why he
people's
does
brain
that
are
though, right?
immediately. Yes, I
You know why
understand
he
why they
does
do that.
that.
Yeah, but you yourself
Okay.
even got to the conclusion that stealing is not the same as sexual assault. You
No, they're
even
different levels of harm.
I heard it in your much more intelligent brain than King Sithis. He sat there and was making the equivocation of stealing and sexual assault. You used the R word, right? It was used the R word, and
Yeah.
you yourself was like, well, wait, it's not the same. Your logic took over, but King Sithis ain't gonna have that. Do you understand?
Well, because he's pushing the boundaries of
I
utilitarianism. That's
understand
why
that,
he's
but it's
doing
not
that.
the same thing,
Yeah.
is my point. So comparing the two as if they are the same thing, and then specifically using that as like a rhetoric tactic is like all it's going to do is just turn people off. Nobody's going to like that.
Right, but the thing is, he's trying to figure out where you draw the line, and the thing
Yes, I
is,
understand that.
utilitarians don't really
All
draw a
right,
line,
so I'm
and
gonna
so
no no no.
that's
So
like the
I'm gonna
immediate
draw the line
bullet,
for
the
you. You
silver
ready?
bullet.
No no, it's not a bullet. So I'm gonna tell you how. I said what it is in the comments, but specifically, what you want to be concerned about is, say if you destroy the inalienable rights of individuals, okay, in order to get some sort of marginal utility, okay. The problem is that when you cross that line, what that means is now there's no line, okay. And by establishing no line, then at that point, you can basically start carte blanche taking away the rights of all sorts of people, which you can observe by the Human Development Index that does not result in a better society, right? People's lives get worse when you don't respect the inalienable rights of individuals, and that can be empirically shown, okay? So strictly making the, what if we sexually assault a single person, as opposed to we sexually, and then it benefits society infinitely. That also doesn't work, because now you've removed the line. That means lots of people could be sexually assaulted. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not a good argument. It's kind of what I'm trying to say to you. Anyway, did you get started on the book I sent you?
Yeah, I've been starting to listen to it. I still got a lot of way to go.
That's
for
fine.
Sure.
Go ahead. Just during your off time, read it. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
Based.
I appreciate it.
Based. I like that.
Yeah. So you have to understand, when we're arguing, I'm not a virtue ethicist or a deontologist. I think that stuff is dumb, sort of. I think it's important when it comes to law, because I think that law is very different in the way that it's used for moral practices. I think that we use law as a rigid standard so that we infer something more than it's something more than morality, because each person has their own view of ethics and their own view of morality.
Yep.
But the reason law has to be rigid is so that we all follow it, because if we don't follow it, we're going to have chaos, because everybody has different subjective moral values.
I agree.
And so I think that the anarchist position is just that live and let live. It's voluntarism. And our big problem is just that we don't agree with the utilitarian calculus that allows for laws to be flexible in allowing for certain individuals to be harmed and, for others to benefit from it. And so then we get into like all these different things like DEI and like diversity hiring and all this stuff, and it's just a mess of it. But we want the law to be fair and consistent all the way throughout.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Well, I agree. I would also want it to be consistent. Why do you want an anarchy society or anarcho-capitalist society?
Because I believe that in an anarchy society, when we have voluntarism, it will be the best for the most amount of people. But most importantly, it'll be best for me.
Okay. You think it'll be best for you by having an anarchy society?
Yes. Because I value my freedom, and I value the people close to me to have their freedom.
So you're saying that the reason why is because of freedom?
Yeah.
Like your idea of like what's best for you is on the basis of freedom.
Yes.
Okay. Would you say that a quality of living standard is also important alongside freedom? Because like I could, for example, make you free in an uncharted island, and leave you to die. I mean, you're free. You're 100% free. In fact, you would have no government. But, if you just die within a few days, it's probably not super fun, right?
Yeah, probably freedom in pre-17th century, pre-17th century society is way different than freedom today. They're very different. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not just freedom, right? It's freedom with a quality of living standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Preferably, yeah.
Do you agree with the founding fathers of the concept of establishing inalienable rights such as life, liberty, property, pursuit of happiness?
Yes.
Nice. So it'd be fair to say that it's good to have more life, liberty, property, and pursuit of happiness, like more people.
Yeah, it's better to have, more private property, more pursuit of happiness. Yeah.
How do you feel about the Civil Rights Act?
Okay, the Civil Rights Act, remind me, that's like that is that what keeps people from discrimination?
Mm-hmm.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Businesses can't discriminate on basis of someone's race, age, caste, color, their religion.
I would far prefer
or not
have
they're gay.
society. Yeah, true. I would far prefer for society to, um, I would far prefer for society to come to the agreement on what we discriminate rather than the law, because I think society is far more flexible.
Well, hold on. The reason why you care about freedom, right, is because you want to be free to do stuff, right? It makes you more satisfied, effectively, right?
Yes.
Okay. And having a society that has less freedom is a worse society.
Yeah.
Okay. So if there's a society where the group of people all decided to subjugate a minority, you would say that's not okay. That's antithetical to freedom.
Yes.
Okay. So we create this really powerful government that says, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's what we did.
Okay. Is that not more freedom?
No, so ideally we would have multiple communities with different ideas. So like maybe I think that
So you should.
this
You
is where
think
we might disagree.
We should
Where I
have
think
like
that
the racist community and then the not racist community, and
Yeah,
I guess
we
like
talked about
sometimes
this.
black people just can't be in that community.
Yeah, so we talked about this before on one of the times we were talking. But it's this idea that, out of like if we did like go into some anarchy society where we had like 50 states and like 50 whatever small governing bodies, and then one of them just decided to be racist, I think that for the short term, I think that it would suck for that one area, but I think that the market would, completely what is it? They would outcompete the racism.
Really, you think?
Essentially. Yeah. It's unprofitable to be racist. It's unprofitable.
Really, you think?
Yeah, it is. Are you going to make an argument that slavery is like economically beneficial?
My sweet summer child. In the South,
Wait,
most people
okay.
were white. Okay. And most people at the time in the South didn't want to be eating next to a black person. It was seen as lower class. And given that 80% of the people were white, restaurants and businesses had a vested interest in making sure black people were excluded because that was what people thought. People would not go to a restaurant that accepted black people. So actually, the exact opposite is the case. By not discriminating, it specifically made your business worse in the South. So this, by saying that you don't like the Civil Rights Act because it's revoking freedom, you have to consider that by not having the Civil Rights Act, that actually reduces freedom overall, right? Because I would say that black people and other minorities not being allowed in specific communities and they're allowed in others would tell me that is a less free society.
Well, I think I agree with you on the assumption that if these things are lined up, there are definitely some problems here. I think that the biggest problem is, first of all, the involuntary association we've had with African Americans, such as, buying them from Africa and then having them shipped over to America in order to be slaves. I think that was obviously the first part where things went wrong. I think that if they naturally immigrated to America, we wouldn't have as much tension nowadays as we did back then. And that's probably the main problem. There's obviously some underlying there's some underlying tension because of the slave trade that we engaged in, hundreds of years ago, and that's the main problem. But I think that we've obviously surpassed that. Like nowadays, that's completely shunned in society. Racists are far and few between.
Why do you think it's shunned in society now?
I mean, okay. I can only speak about my experience and the things I've seen. But everything I've seen online in my life, racism is bad. Like, I think the mass majority of people agree that racism is bad.
That wasn't the case in the 1960s, and it wasn't the case in the 1950s. What changed that made it not acceptable anymore?
The Reformation. I don't agree with it. I don't think it was law. I think it was the Reformation. I think it was Christian ideology.
You don't think that the Civil Rights Act had anything to do with that?
Of course, the Civil Rights Act had something to do with it, but it's like it's an expedient something. It's like you're immediately getting rid of a bad problem.
Well, yeah, I want more freedom, not less. And the way that I do the freedom is that I have a restriction on being racist to people. Right? Because I want as many people to be able to contribute in society as possible.
But the problem is that there are negative consequences when you create laws
What's the
that
negative
aren't
consequence
adaptable.
of that?
Well, the negative consequences of it are, for example, like you wouldn't agree with this, but I would say that diversity hiring is a problem because it gets rid of meritocracy. And you were talking to Socrates about this, and I know we disagree about this point, but I think that it increases tension because when people of other races see certain races, benefiting from certain programs, there's a tension there because they start to get angry at the race when they should just get angry at the system itself.
We can't even be talking about affirmative action because we're talking about the Civil Rights Act, right? And your very own metric was that you want there to be more freedom in society. And by having a bunch of racists in society that can discriminate against minorities fundamentally does remove freedoms from people. That makes the world less free. So you can actually place restrictions on people so that way that they can't discriminate against minorities, which in turn makes it more free. This destroys the concept of anarcho-capitalism. This is a big problem for anarcho-capitalism. I mean, forget about the environment, forget about the governments, forget about all that. This is like a basic, like you can see yourself that this does not decrease freedoms. It increases freedoms.
It doesn't increase freedom. It only increases freedom if it's stopping racists from engaging in involuntary action. I don't think that
the Civil Rights Act did nothing regarding the freedom of minorities?
We already agreed on this. I already told you it did. I already told you that it had an
you're
immediate
contradicting
consequence.
yourself. You are now contradicting yourself. Within one sentence, you are contradicting yourself.
But do you know what I said after that?
You were talking about how it does not increase freedoms, but then it does increase freedoms.
I said that it has an immediate effect that is positive, but also has long-term consequences. And then we disagreed on the long-term consequences.
Why not legislate that? What's the problem? It worked before.
So we can do all this, but it's just highly inefficient. If we just let
No,
society
it
and the
worked.
market
That's the
society,
problem.
it's much
That's the problem
faster
with your
and more
argument.
efficient.
No, but it wasn't. It wasn't. And I explained why. We did the market approach. It worked for decades where they could be racist towards minorities. And it was economically advantageous to do that, not the other way around. I understand that you've read your economics textbook and you've read your Misey's book and that they say they sit there and talk about like economics man who has like rational decision making, but that's not behavioral economics and that's not how general economics works. Right? It's like, yeah, I guess if you're like trying to teach Econ 101, then yeah, general economics man kind of works. It works great, but not everybody is a rational actor when it comes to like their profits. Do you understand that?
Rational in the sense that they all want profit. And that as people get more intelligent, they realize that violence is unprofitable. I think we're still learning.
I understand that, but I've just given you the example exactly how the market was not going to fix it in the South because most customers did not want to be seated next to a minority. That's the case. That's in fact the truth. That's the reality, right? So we want to think that every person is going to be economics man and be like, I want to make some money off of these minorities. No. What they're going to do is that they're going to discriminate against the minority of people, so that way they can satisfy the majority, so that way that they get the most amount of money. Right? They're not going to be looking at it in the long term as like, hey, all of these people can actually be customers. It was other economists that came up to that decision. And that's why there's an example of the Civil Rights Act with the mix of, of civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King.
Okay. Well, I still believe that society ended racism and society ended slavery.
Oh boy.
And the reason why I think this is because what is it that abolished slavery?
What is it that abolished slavery?
Yes. In America.
US. There was the Emancipation Proclamation, and then a really big war, giant war. Millions of people died. And then a lot of people still didn't want to acknowledge it. They still possessed disparities, but like slavery was technically ended at that point. But there were even still areas that had slaves. And so, there were like little pockets where federally had to mandate that it was not okay. And then later on, people were still being discriminated against. So they created the Civil Rights Act to prevent discrimination in businesses. So that way minorities could contribute in society.
Yeah. And so what I think initiated all of this was the Civil War, when the North was basically, lots of force. And I think we can agree that the way it was,
if you will, like a big, giant, big, powerful.
I know, big daddy government. I get it.
That said, you don't get to be racist anymore. We're going to put you in jail if you're racist.
I agree.
Which
I agree that the way
I
it was
completely
handled
agree
is
with,
bad.
because that No. I'm saying that that handling of the situation is good, because the end result is that it makes people more free. I'm not going to sit there and wait for the invisible hand to stop discriminating against minorities. That's going to take way too long. We could just fix it right now, and it worked. We did the very thing, and it worked. Right? It's not okay to be racist, openly racist towards minorities. Why? Because we had a civil rights movement that said, no, you're not allowed. And then we made that federal law. We put it ensconced in stone. That's what it is. Now there's more freedom.
Right, but you just said like a couple minutes ago that the Civil War resulted in like countless deaths. Uh-huh. So many deaths. Uh-huh. The Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there would be less death and suffering overall if we never went to war?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, and wouldn't that be better if there was less suffering and deaths?
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if the North just avoided war and showed the South that over time they were far superior technologically when they allowed people to live freely.
Well, they did. That's why
people.
Additional arguments were being made against slavery. That's unironically why. Like that was even written in a book. It was actually a trilogy book that I read by Rothbard called "Conceived in Liberty," which is like telling the story of the inception of the United States from like the 1500s all the way into 1779. But what's your point?
My point is that if we didn't have the war, we would have avoided, a bunch of unnecessary suffering and death.
Sure, but the problem is that people
sounds like you were okay with going to war.
People still, because I want to live in a society where people are more free, not less. If we did not go to war, people would have been less free. And just like you have argued, right, we want people to be more free.
Yeah. But again, I don't think that war makes... I don't think that war is justified to make people more free. I think that you can only...
What?
You can only... No.
Really?
Really?
Do you think that we should have gone and stopped the Nazis? Should we just let them be?
That depends how we did it.
Really?
I don't think there's anything wrong.
No. You're sitting there saying the war thing. So do you think that we should stop the Nazis? Very simple.
Well, I'll answer if you let me explain.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I would say that yes, we can go fight the Nazis if people agree to do it. If people don't agree to do it, then no, we shouldn't go fight the Nazis. And what I mean by that is, as you would guess, voluntary. I think a lot of people would voluntarily, get up and decide to go fight the Nazis. But to be fair, it's not our problem.
Isn't that an aggression on the Nazis?
And we can't be expected to govern the entire world.
Wait, isn't that an aggression on the Nazis?
No, it's self-defense.
Where were the Nazis again?
Where's Germany? Over in the European area?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were aggressing against our allies, but they weren't aggressing against us.
No, but you're allowed to defend your ally.
Oh. So...
I don't think we disagree on this.
Are you in favor of NATO?
Only if it's voluntary.
What is different?
Which is not.
Yeah, it is. What is different? What is different between your society and just current society?
Bro, literally, my entire position is just voluntarism. You know everything I'm gonna say if it's voluntary or involuntary. That's it. That's as simple as I get. It's just voluntarism.
Unless your
if you
allies
do something
are involved.
that.
Then it's almost like you're morally obligated, right? Which would justify NATO. That would justify governments. You would even argue that a government might actually even be necessary as long as it makes more freedom, because that's your predicate as to why you even care about these things.
Well, so first and foremost, I'm an egoist. But second of all, I believe in a voluntary legal system. So I don't believe in imposing... So in the case of the Nazis, they were aggressing first. They attacked first.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were a threat big enough, no. But if they're aggressing on somebody, if they're aggressing on somebody else, then you're allowed to use
so you're obligated to help your friends
in order to force them to pay restitution. You can do that. In the same way that in an anarchist society, that if there's a criminal that kills somebody who's not part of an insurance agency can go up and prison that person and force them to restitute the people they victimized. Yeah. Even if they're not part of the society, they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not allowed to aggress. You're just not.
Mm-hmm. No, but you are if they're hurting your friends.
So I think we're using the word aggression differently. The way that anarchists define aggression is like an initial force of violence. So self-defense wouldn't be considered aggression.
So would you say that it's an aggression to discriminate against minorities from being able to participate in society? Is that an aggression?
If it's voluntary, no.
Well, the minority didn't agree to that.
So, like, for example...
No. The minority didn't agree to that.
Didn't agree to what? Somebody's opinion on them?
To being discriminated against. They want to participate in society, and it is made in such a way where they can't participate in society, and so they can't do so. They didn't agree to that. They can't control being a minority. They're just a minority. Right? So is that an aggression?
Can I tell you a story real quick?
Sure.
When I was a kid, I used to bike around my neighborhood, and there was this other kid who also biked around the neighborhood. And for some reason, and I have no idea fucking why, this kid hated me. Every time we rode past each other, he just glared at me. And then one time he just started cursing at me. And all we did was ride our bikes past each other. And I always wondered why he got so angry at me. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, I can't force him to change his opinion of me. That kid probably hated me for a while. And then he probably hated a lot of people around him. But guess what? I can't do anything about that kid. He's just going to be a hateful kid for the rest of his life. And that's going to hurt him. That's not going to hurt me. because I moved on from
Unless,
that
of course,
kid,
the community
okay?
is all about hating on you specifically.
But the thing is, the kid
Hold on,
never
no,
attacked
hold on.
me.
What if it's like super cool that the entire community hates you?
So what? Like, people are allowed to have opinions. I don't know what you want to do about that.
Sure, but like, I mean, can they take your stuff? Can they beat you up? Can they do all those things?
No, that's violence.
Interesting,
no, they can't do that.
right? So there should be protections.
Yeah, there should be legal protections.
So what's
against
protecting
violence,
you,
yeah.
anarcho-capitalist?
Oh, come on, bro. What are you
club?
doing? Listen, I know the government currently has a law that protects us. I know that. I just think it's inefficient. And I think I think that it's a non-consensual government that we're using.
That's
currently.
correct. It's very not consensual.
You already know this.
I completely agree. It is not
But
consensual.
you did-
And now here's the part
What?
that'll make your brain explode. It's completely
That's
justified because it makes more freedom, not less.
No, it doesn't.
How do you justify? There's so many
problems.
problems with this concept. How do you justify contract theory? Contract law.
What?
How do you
Why are you
justify
bringing
it?
contract law into this?
Because it's amazing. It's amazing.
Bro, I'm an anarchist. I'm the contract theorist, not you.
Huh? Yeah, well, I know. I've read
you,
my
bro.
anarchy books too.
Yeah,
You guys
more
hold
than
it
me.
very near and dear.
But you understand the point of my story, right? People can hate each other.
You have a right
but we
to hate
can't stop them
somebody,
from
but
doing that.
nobody has a right to discriminate against you based off of inalienable characteristics you can't control.
No, they can do that.
No, they
because they're
can't.
allowed to
No,
do-
by law, they
can.
cannot do that. That's
Where's
the point.
aggression?
That's
Where's
the point.
the aggression? Point to me the aggression. Where's the aggression?
Where you go into a restaurant and you say, "Hi, I would like to sit here with my wife," and they say, "No biracial couples." That's an aggression.
That's not an aggression.
Yes,
it would be
it
bad,
is.
but it's not an aggression.
That's horrible. I don't
Because
want to live in a society like that. That's less freedom. That makes society worse. The only reason why you care
is
about
this-
aggression versus
Bro.
not aggression is whether or not something is free enough. And the reality is that the society that has the restrictions literally makes more freedom.
Listen, we have a fundamental difference in how we see people. I think
I'm
the vast
aware.
majority of
I'm
people
aware.
aren't bad people. I think they think about the things in their immediate surroundings, okay? The majority of people aren't bad. They just think about themselves and they just want to live a violent, peaceful life. This is the majority of people, okay?
Unless, of course,
the majority
that's
of people
not
are not
the case.
racist.
Yeah, but that wasn't the case in the 1950s and the 1960s. Most people in the South were racist as fuck.
Bro, there was reasons for that, okay?
What?
They
No,
had
there's
families
not.
in poverty
No,
and-
there's not. The only reason
They-
was an old
essentially-
tribal atavism that they have to stick to that actually had no economic or philosophical or moral merit. It was just tribalism. It's just atavism. It's just total nonsense that doesn't actually output to society being more free. It makes society less free. It makes society worse by your metric.
I think we just have a different definition of freedom because I see freedom as voluntarism. And I think you don't. So it's probably just a definitional disagreement.
9 times out of 10, I'm going to apply a colloquial use of a definition. I'm never going to operate in bad faith regarding definitions.
Okay. But okay. Wait, this might be it. You might be arguing for positive freedoms, and I might be arguing for negative freedoms.
No,
right?
I argue for both negative freedoms and positive freedoms.
Okay, right.
I just
only
come
argue
to a
for negative
conclusion that it's like,
freedoms.
all right, I remember when I was a libertarian, I was like, why do I believe in this thing? Right. And what happens is that when I'm like, okay, well, why do I believe in this thing? Why do I believe in freedom? Because I was like, well, really what it came down to is I thought, okay, well, there are things that if people could live those things out, that they would become more satisfied. I'm like, I don't know why that is, but that seems to be the best possible scenario that I can imagine, right? Because it's like everybody has their own desires as to what they want versus not want. And I think that like a society that facilitates that, that's the best society. Does that make sense? Most freedom.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
so
we have the same base foundation.
Yes.
But we have different routes to getting there. I think that's what it is.
Well,
Because we both said we want freedom, right?
mhm.
But I think we have different opinions on the best way to get to maximizing freedom.
Yeah.
I think it's through a rigid anarchy legal system, and you think it's through a sort of consequential maximizing freedom.
Well, I don't think
standard.
you do, because like even you yourself said that we were justified in stopping the Nazis in the sense that they were aggressing against our friends, which would basically justify the existence of NATO. It would also justify the existence of you as a nation voluntarily going over and involuntarily kicking the ass of the Nazis. Trust me, they did not voluntarily request you to kick their ass. They did not.
No, but they attacked
But
first.
that's
just
correct.
saying.
Correct. But they
shot
didn't attack
first.
us. That's my point. They didn't attack us. So us getting involved into something is not required for there to be an aggression against you. It's enough for it as an aggression against your friends, which is an argument in favor of social contracts, the social contract theory. Because it's affecting more than just you. It's affecting you and your friends. Because we're social species.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you even argue that we're morally obligated to do so.
Yeah, I think that, I guess what you would call self-defense aggression, I would be okay with self-defense aggression, if that's what you want to call it. That's not what ANCAPs call it, but if you want to call it that, then sure, yeah. I'm for self-defense
I don't call it that either. It's you doing that.
Okay.
I'm not against. The problem is that I understand the necessity of aggression sometimes, right? I don't apply this like dogmatic worldview where it must be one or the other. I look at things in a pragmatic way.
I also look through this lens consequentially outside of the legal system. So, for example, with the trolley problem, if it was just me and nobody else, then I would make a decision that might go against anarchist ethics.
What would you
I just
pull?
might.
Would you pull it?
I don't know. See, actually, I've been trying to think about this for a while, and I don't know if you want to go this deep, but I've been trying to figure out the meaning of life. And I know that sounds fucking cringe, but as long as I was a kid, I always wanted to figure out the meaning of life and why we're alive. And I think it has something to do with choice. And so when it comes to the trolley problem, I don't know if I'm making the wrong choice whether I kill 5 people or whether I kill 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, what does it really mean for someone to live? Like, how do we know what is valuable in the world?
Well, you would actually like my answer.
To us.
You would like my answer, and you'd probably adopt it.
Well, would you kill the 1 person to save the 5?
Or get the fuck away. I didn't tie them, nor did.
You just walk away. Okay.
Yeah, I just walk away. Dude, I'm not going to be responsible for someone's death. I'm sorry.
It's not. Yeah, it's not your responsibility.
Yeah,
it's not your responsibility.
I'm literally just walking away. I'm not going to deal with it. There's no way I'd be able to.
What's your moral framework? Do you believe in moral imperatives or do you believe in yourself?
Well, my moral framework is a little complicated. We'd have to spend some time talking about that. But basically, I believe that all moral systems. I believe that all moral systems come from a desire of survival, and the concept of survival is not a desirable notion. It's an entropic notion.
Entropic. What do you mean by this?
As in, it is dictated by the basic laws of entropy of the universe, the universal entropy. Meaning, the desire of survival isn't something that we inherently desire. It must be that way because of just how it naturally works. It has to do that. You don't have a choice in the matter.
But entropy tends towards chaos, so why would this make you want to live?
Well, so it's what happens is that through the chaotic systems, right, it's caused organization to occur, and then the entropic desire of survival. Entirely through mechanistic means.
That sounds counterintuitive.
I know. But it makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
No, it fucking doesn't.
Do you need me to
Wait,
explain it in
okay,
detail?
okay. Is this how you derive your morals? You think that it comes from like the law of
Well,
entropy?
it's predicated
basically?
off of, effectively, like, to make it simpler, like, it's predicated off of survival. All moral systems predicate off of that.
Okay, so then I would ask you, why is survival valuable? And this is something I've been
It's not
struggling
that it's
with.
valuable versus not valuable. It's entropic. It must.
Why must it?
Because it's entropic. It is through entropic processes that we even desire it.
Okay, so you're saying that from the chaos of the universe, arose order through random chance. And because of this, some random chance was created into our subconscious that made us want to live, basically.
Yeah, I mean, evolutionary pathways took place, whereas like things that desired to live continued to live, whereas things that did not died off. And so we come through billions and billions of years of that. But honestly, it's not even a matter of a desire. It just happens mechanistically. The example that I've brought up is that it has to come from, if you think about a single-celled organism that possesses some cilia. Cilia is just, little hairs that provide locomotion. Should I place a hot poker next to it? The little cilia just start, moving, and then it swims away. It doesn't have a neuronal connection to think, I need to run. It doesn't really have that, right? What happens is that
It's
you
just
have
reflexive.
Well, the heat is exuding in terms of entropy, is exuding outward to the cell wall, which then causes a series of proteins. To touch a cell wall, which then causes the series of proteins to excite that then allow the specific proteins of the cilia to then spin, and then it moves away. If it did not have this, it would likely die. And so it would not propagate its species as a result.
Do you think that it would be okay? Why don't you hit backspace?
What?
Oh, sorry. Backspace is a word I used. I just mean self-deletion.
Oh, okay. Well, take for example, if somebody does possess that notion, let me ask you, if you try to punch them, do they flinch?
Yeah.
Yes, because survival is entropic.
Okay, so you're saying survival is instinctual, but what about what's rational? What do you think would be rational? Wouldn't backspace be rational?
Well, so like the single-celled eukaryote, we also operate under the same mechanistic means, except the difference is that we're now a social species. And because we're a social species, it's much, much more complicated for humans than it is for the single-celled eukaryote. But that just basically means it's that with extra steps. Does that make sense?
I guess. Let me get some clarity. I'll put this in like a utilitarian framework. Do you think the average person derives more pleasure or pain throughout their entire existence?
Well, it depends. Depends on the person.
Yeah. So let's say that the 40% bottom of people that don't feel as much pleasure, like they feel far more suffering than they do pleasure. I would include myself in this group, but let's say the bottom 40% of people who feel
I think
far more.
you don't give yourself enough credit. I think you love life.
I don't. But,
All right. Sorry.
but I have a different reason for that.
Okay.
But no, it's cool. But it's like that's a whole other conversation. But what I mean to say is what would you say the justification for life is for the bottom 40% of people who suffer more than they feel pleasure?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
What is the rational justification for living for this bottom 40% of people who derive more suffering than they do pleasure throughout their entire life?
Well, there's more to life than just the individual suffering, right? There's other people that want them to exist. Because we're a social species.
Please tell me the fucking answer. I've been searching for this for ages.
Well, we're a social species. Other people want you to exist. Unless if there's zero people that want you to exist. That would be a very sad existence. You got to talk to a psychologist.
Who gives a... But who gives a fuck about what other people think?
Well, I'm saying they want you to. They themselves derive selfish pleasure in your existence.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But what about you?
So that's me personally?
No, not you. Like you colloquially, the person who's suffering you. What about them?
I mean, like I gave the example there, but like another example is, have you looked up at the sky? It's actually kind of amazing, right? Cool. That you're sitting there and you're staring at the stuff that is you, the universe, and you are it, the universe, staring back and pondering its existence. It's a pattern, but it's fucking incredible. How's that not amazing? That makes my ape brain chemicals go, whoa, that's nuts. That is so cool. I mean, that's just the ape brain chemicals telling you that, but yeah, that's one thing.
And you know what's cool? Like. Super random, but you might agree with me here. Dude, have you ever seen when it rains when it's sunny outside?
Yeah.
Fucking amazing, dude. It's probably like the coolest weather thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
It's just completely sunny and it's raining. That looks amazing.
That's amazing.
Amazing. Jesse Peterson, amazing. Yeah. But
I'm not even gonna do an impression.
Giggling like a schoolgirl.
No, because I love Jesse Lee Peterson. That guy's so psychotic.
He's funny.
Yeah,
he's funny.
He's a funny guy. Sure.
He's a good meme. He's a good memer.
That's pretty much all it's worth.
Yeah.
He says
I think we can agree on
that.
Yeah. I think we can agree that he's a great memer.
What I think you need to do, right, unironically, like, how long is that book, Austerity, by Mark Blyth? Do you remember? What is it, like 9-10 hours?
A little bit. I think over 10 hours, maybe.
Bro, can you just finish that book? Just take the time during lunch. Stop watching your YouTube videos. Just go over it, okay?
You want me to stop watching my ANCAP propaganda Liquid Zulu videos? Are you serious?
Yes, just get some perspective.
That's a big ask.
Because you're gonna, I'm telling you, it's gonna make you grow.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, next time we talk, we got to talk more about morality, which is my domain. I'm not really good at anarchism. I'm good at philosophy. That's what I like to talk about.
That's cool.
Next time we talk, we got to talk about morality. I want to convince you to be an egoist like myself. Okay. I think I can convince you.
I'll have to look up a little bit about what you mean by egoism. But yeah, I've read several philosophy books. I don't recall the term egoism, but I don't know. Maybe I did read it and just don't remember it.
Bro, it's super simple. I'll explain it to you. You don't gotta worry about anything. I'll make it super simple.
Okay.
No, egoism's based.
So you got
dumb cross looking.
Yeah, I less than 3 Jesus says egoism sounds insufferable. Anyway, so what do you got anything else? I always try to give you the last word.
No, I appreciate the talk. More people can talk if they want to. I appreciate the conversation. I just wanted to get your opinion on the videos, but yeah, we definitely got to set up a debate between me, you, Sithis, one other dude. We got to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna get that with Daniel Hume. That's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be amazing.
Daniel, wait, the YouTuber?
No, Daniel Hume.
Wait, all I can think of
the moderator
is.
Not Professor Dave Explains.
No, I thought you were talking about. Is his name Humor? He's like a philosophy professor that talks online about philosophy.
No clue
whatever
what you're talking about.
Different guy. Yeah. Let's get a. Yeah. Let's try to get something going.
Yeah. Good talk, dude.
Good conversation, bro.
Yeah. And dude, don't listen to King Sithis that I'm somehow like bad faith. I'm not bad faith. Okay? Get it out of your head. Right? I ask challenging questions, but no, my goal isn't to win a debate, which, by the way, he alluded to. He alluded that because he was sitting there coming up with ways on how to win the debate. Do you understand how infuriating it is where he's like, oh, I don't want to win a debate, but there he is concocting ways on how to win a debate.
Never attribute malice what you can attribute
with ignorance
to something.
Ignorance.
Ignorance.
Good time.
I'm never gonna assume somebody that has malice.
Yeah.
I think people just have different beliefs, and some people are dogmatic, some people aren't, and it's whatever. I don't think you're bad faith.
Cool,
I just like talking with people.
Yeah, cool. Good talk, dude.
Cool. See ya.
Yep, see ya.